When it comes to filmmakers from the 1930s to the 1960s, no one comes close to Alfred Hitchcock. He's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, and so today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 Alfred Hitchcock movies. Welcome to another new video, everyone. I'm Movie Micah. Like I said, this is top 10 Alfred Hitchcock films. Share your list in the comments down below. I want to know, what is your favorite Hitchcock film? And without further ado, let's get into my list. So coming in at number 10 is Saboteur. Now this movie, it's just okay. I mean, it has some really bad moments, like especially the ending. I think Hitchcock wasn't the greatest at endings, and this is just a horrible ending, where the guy falls off the Statue of Liberty, and you really don't know what happens to the main character after that. And because of that, it feels like the film never had a point, and that whole journey was for nothing. Because now that the guy who actually committed the crime is dead, does that mean our main character is just going to get arrested after all that? It really feels like the movie never had a point. That ending is awful. However, most of this movie is pretty good. I mean, it's got a great concept. I think it's pretty interesting. This might be the funniest Hitchcock film, if that was intentional or not. There's some funny characters and funny scenes. I don't know if he intended it that way, but it's a pretty decent movie. It makes my top 10. Then coming in at number 9 is The Birds. I can say a lot of the same stuff that I did Saboteur. I don't like the ending. It makes it feel like it never had a point, like both of these films. Like, I really don't know why The Birds was made. It's just birds attacking people, and that's it. There's nothing really all that interesting about it. The characters are not good. The whole film is just so one-noted. I don't think I would recommend it, but it's still on this list because I think it's kind of impressive that they were able to make a film about birds pretty scary. It's got some really good visuals for the time, but again, I just don't know why this movie was made. It doesn't have a purpose. Coming in at number 8 is Dial M for Murder. Now, Hitchcock has so many films about murder, so many great murder mysteries, and they're all so different. Somehow, he finds something new to do with each one, and that's really impressive. But at the same time, with this one, this is the one that I remember the least. It's very forgettable compared to Rope, Strangers on a Train, Rear Window, all those films that I'll talk about later. This one's kind of forgettable. I just talked about the endings with The Birds and Saboteur, and those are some bad endings. But Dial M for Murder actually happens to have a really good ending. It's one of his best endings, but the movie as a whole, it's just pretty forgettable next to some of his others. Now, Grace Kelly is great. It's got some very good performances, but it doesn't interest me as much as a lot of his other work. Next up, in 7th place, I have Foreign Correspondent. This is his most underrated film ever. Definitely. We're getting into the movies that I really do enjoy. And yeah, Foreign Correspondent is a very solid 7 out of 10. I really do like it. There's not much to say about it though. I think it's just very underrated, very well made. There's some great scenes, especially the scene near the end where they're shot down in a plane. I can imagine how amazing it must have been to see that scene way back in 1940. This also happens to be the oldest film on this top 10 list. So yeah, I think it's really impressive that Hitchcock made this really underrated movie so early in his career. There's not a whole lot of specifics to talk about, but it's very good. And then coming in at number 6 is North by Northwest. Now this is actually a very entertaining film. Super fun all the way through, which is not really one of the first things that comes to mind when you think of Alfred Hitchcock's filmography. A lot of his films are dark and suspenseful, while North by Northwest is really fun and entertaining and energetic. And I sort of feel like this was the first glimpse at the modern big movie blockbusters that we have today. I mean, this film inspired people to do more stuff like the crop duster scene, and I think it's fascinating to watch this movie now and just have a lot of fun with an old film from the 50s. Something that people had never seen before, and it's pretty amazing. It was actually made right between Vertigo and Psycho, and I don't think it's as good as those two, but it's still great. Coming in at number 5 is Strangers on a Train. I was not expecting this to make the top 5, but this is like exactly what Hitchcock films should be. It's another film about murder and this crazy character that's fascinated with murder. And this movie has a fantastic concept about this character who has to cover up something that he didn't even do. This is another one where I don't have a ton to say about it, but it just has everything that a Hitchcock film should have. It did everything that I think it should have, and it's an intriguing classic film all the way until the end. Coming in at number 4 is Rear Window. I think Rear Window has the best duo in any Hitchcock film, with Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly combining. Definitely the best duo in any of these films. And then again, it's got a great concept that involves murder, and this is just some of Hitchcock's greatest suspense, some of his best mystery as well. And he really makes you want to find out what's actually going on in this film, because there's a lot of different possibilities, what might be happening in the other building. And while basically the whole film is in this one room, it is so intriguing. If you don't really like classic films, I think you should still check Rear Window out. It's really great. And Hitchcock actually made this the exact same year as Dial M for Murder. He made both of those really good murder mysteries the same year. I think Rear Window is a lot better, but that is amazing that he made both of those in the same year, 1954. Go see Rear Window, it's one of his best. Heading into the top 3, I have Psycho. Now, just because this isn't number 1 doesn't mean I love it less. I think this is a phenomenal movie. This being at number 3 instead of 1 does not take away from it. I think it's one of my top 30 favorite films of all time. And I do not think Psycho is overrated just because it's not in the top 2 or top 1. I think it's so amazing how Hitchcock subverted expectations by even killing off the main character. But somehow that doesn't even take away from the intrigue. It only gets even more interesting from there. But then we shift our focus to Norman Bates, which is a really fascinating character in my opinion. That performance is also phenomenal. And this movie is just so eerie and off-putting in all the best ways. It's really creepy. And the ending twist, of course, you know I'll love that twist. I love plot twists. They can add so much to a movie. And yeah, Psycho is absolutely phenomenal. It's easily one of the best horror films that I've ever seen. Now, these top 2 are so close with each other, but coming in at number 2 for me today, it's going to be Vertigo at number 2. This and Psycho are definitely his 2 most iconic films. Vertigo is another mind-blowing masterpiece. Jimmy Stewart is of course great in it. It's also got this really different, interesting story where at first they make you think it's like this person's wife who's somehow been possessed by some ghost, which of course it is not that at all. Of course this twist, where it's revealed that it was all an elaborate plan to murder the wife, yet again another incredible Hitchcock plot twist. I don't think he's known for plot twists, but he has 2 of the greatest ones in Psycho and Vertigo. I mean, this movie just blew my mind. But even after that twist, it keeps all the intrigue and mystery, and it keeps going up until the ending. And Vertigo is a very hard movie for me to explain why I love it so much, but it's just so intriguing every second of it, and that's why it comes in at number 2. It could be number 1 tomorrow, but for now, I have it at number 2. And number 1 is Rope. Now, a lot of people do love this film, but not many people have it at number 1. Most people would have Vertigo or Psycho. I personally have Rope. Like I've been saying, the next day could be Vertigo at 1, Rope at number 2, but Rope is just, surprisingly, such a masterpiece. Again, it's a murder mystery, but this one is designed to look like One Shot. It's the first one-shot movie ever, and that's just amazing. I love one-shot films, especially 1917 and Rope. I mean, those are the 2 that I love. It's just so great that you can, in these movies, you see every single thing the characters do, which of course you can do that in a normal movie, but most of the times they don't. In one-shot movies, you see every single little part of the story, and that makes them more small-scale stories, but that's amazing. We just focus in on this one thing that's happening, and the fact that they were able to do this so well in 1948 with Rope is absolutely amazing. This movie is very much carried by dialogue and performances, And it definitely helps when you have Jimmy Stewart giving one of his best performances that I've seen. And when it gets to that ending, it is probably the most suspenseful film I have ever seen. It's such a stressful finale, and it made me want to rewatch it right away. That is why Rope is #1. So thanks for watching. That was my top 10 Alfred Hitchcock movies, and soon I will also be doing top 10 Martin Scorsese movies. Make sure you're subscribed. You won't want to miss that. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.